Good evening, everyone. I hope that everyone is doing well. I wanted to share with you tonight a little bit of information on blessings and curses. And the reason I wanted to share this information is because I've been coming into contact with people who have been seeing a lot of turmoil, and they've been experiencing, I should say, a lot of turmoil and disappointment in life, and they've been fighting a lot of battles. And some people are to the point where they just can't take it anymore. They don't know what the answer is. They want to pull out their hair because the issue is, unfortunately, they're fighting a human battle, or they're fighting a natural battle against something that is spiritual. So I just wanted to share a little bit of information. I know there are tons of videos out there on this, but I just wanted to share a little bit of information in case somebody didn't come across the other videos that are out there. I just wanted to give this information as well, hoping that someone will be blessed by this and realize, oh, that's what's happening in my life. And hopefully this will be able to alleviate some of the stress, and it will give some answers and some guidance into what is going on in life. So the Bible speaks about blessings and curses, and a lot of times we're not taught about curses because in most of the time we're just taught about blessing. God is going to bless you. This is a blessing. That is a blessing. We're taught that curses are something that do not exist anymore, and it's for witches, and it just doesn't apply to us. If we don't believe in a curse, then the curse can't have any power over us, and so many things. There are so many different stories behind the philosophy of curses. So I just wanted to share just a little bit. I won't get deep, but if someone needs more information, I'm glad to share. This is just very surface. The Bible speaks about curses. Curses are mentioned a few times in the Bible, but where I want to speak about is Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. And if you read Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, you'll see that verses 3 through 13 speak about the blessings, and verses 16 through 68 speak about the curses. So if you would sum up the blessings in Deuteronomy, it would be exaltation, health, reproductiveness or reproductivity, prosperity, victory, and God's favor. And if you would sum up the curses, they would be humiliation, barrenness or unfruitfulness, mental and physical sickness, family breakdown, poverty, defeat, oppression, failure, and God's disfavor. So if you know someone who has a pattern of certain things, then you could likely say that there is a curse operating in this person's life. Now, I want to give you a list of 7 indications of a curse. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that if someone has one of these things, if a person is experiencing one of the things on the list, that a curse is necessarily in their lives. But if you or you know someone else who is experiencing more than one of these things, then that would indicate a curse on their life. And that's something that would have to be dealt with in the spiritual realm, and you can't deal with it in the natural realm. You definitely have to seek God in prayer, and you need to find the origin of the curse. You need to find where it came from, where the door was opened up to, because then and only then can you deal with it. Because if you don't deal with the origin, you'll just be fighting the symptoms. And to put a Band-Aid over something like that will not, just like if you have an issue in your body, you want to get to the origin. You don't want to just take medicine to make the pain stop, but you want to get to the origin to wipe it out altogether. So if you notice that someone has mental and or emotional breakdown, repeated or chronic sickness, especially if it's hereditary, you have some people who have diabetes in their family, and my family is like that, and that's a curse on my family, is diabetes and hypertension. And I noticed it, thank God, and I stopped it after my mother, because everyone has it on both sides of the family, and it's come to the point where we just accept it. But I thank God for knowledge. I thank God that I know now that I don't have to accept sickness. Barrenness, a tendency to miscarry, or related female problems. There are some people that suffer with extreme pain during their menstruation. There are some people who suffer from fibroids, and there are some people who suffer from repeated miscarriages. They cannot carry a baby. You need to look at that and trace your family tree. And if you see that this is something that reoccurs in the family tree, then most likely there was a door opened and there is a curse that needs to be dealt with. Breakdown of marriage and family alienation. Within my family, I've noticed that the women on my mother's side do not stay married. They'll get married and something happens and they all divorce. I've noticed that it's something on my mother's side. So that was something where I noticed that a door had to have been opened up, and it fights me and my marriage from time to time. But because I know what I'm dealing with, I know how to pray. And I thank God for revelation. I know that this is a curse in my family because I asked my mother some questions, and I found out that when my grandmother was alive, she dealt with a church that was into fortune telling, and someone in the church put a curse on her kids and our lineage and our bloodline, which affected my mother and her siblings, and thus tried to affect us. But again, I thank God for knowledge. I was able to pray it off of me. Then we have continuing financial insufficiency, someone who's constantly suffering. They're never able to make ends meet, no matter how hard they try, no matter how much they try to save, no matter how much overtime they work. It seems like something is always eating up their money. We have certain people that are just not good stewards over money, and that's not the type of person I'm referring to. I'm actually referring to a person who is actually a good steward over their money, but it just happens that they just do not have the best fortune when it comes to dealing with money and getting bills paid and just being able to get the necessities of life. I'm not necessarily speaking about people who can't afford expensive clothing, because that's not everybody's goal in life, and everybody's purpose in life is not the same. So prosperity to one person may not be prosperity to another person. So that's something that you would have to take on a case-by-case basis. Being accident prone. If you constantly have something happening to you over and over and over again, it's most likely there is a curse against you. There is a curse in effect. If you are the type of person who constantly breaks your arm, or you're the type of person who constantly injures yourself anywhere in your body in the same place multiple times, or if you see that it's a reoccurring issue where everyone in your family is easy to injure, then most likely there's something working against you. And it's unfortunate because some of us have just accepted it as this is just in my family. And I know the doctors have many terms for issues like this, but it just helps us to accept it and not really look for the origin and why this is happening. And I could understand that a person who is not a Christian would just accept it, but a person who's a Christian, and we see the promises in the Bible, we see what God has promised us, and then we see our life not lining up with that, then we need to be asking questions and searching the scripture and trying to find out what happened in our life, what went wrong to where the promises of God are not working in our life. And then I have one more, a history of suicides and unnatural or untimely deaths. If you know anyone or yours in your family where people are constantly committing suicide, or people are constantly dying at an early age, dying prematurely, if you know your cousin died at 40 or 45 and their son is now on the road to where they're going to be sick and die at the same age, and you just see it's a repeating pattern, it's usually because something is working against you to destroy you or your bloodline. There are, of course, there are other indications, but I just wanted to make a short list just to help someone out. And those, I think, are the most common that I've seen. So I wanted to point those out. So if any of these on this list is something that you're battling with, or you know someone that's battling with, and even with the breakdown that I mentioned of marriage and family and relationship, sometimes something can happen repeatedly over and over again, and you can't understand in your relationship, your marriage, you can't understand why there's no clarification, why you can't move past this particular point with your spouse. It's usually because there is something in place which kind of is working to make the relationship not work. So it's working against the cohesiveness of the relationship. So definitely, if you see any of these things present, it's imperative that you seek God and you read the Bible to understand what is going on, because I guarantee you, God is a revealer of secrets, and he will show you what is going on. He does not want to keep things from you so that you have to suffer, but he will definitely, if you seek him and if you read his word, he'll definitely open up the truth to you. So I hope this was helpful to someone. As I said, this is just surface. This is nothing deep. I can go deeper, but I just wanted to give someone a basic understanding of what may be happening in their life. And hopefully someone will hear this and someone will get hope and understand that they're not the only one, that it's nothing that, sometimes it's nothing that you're doing. It's stuff that your ancestors did that opened you up to it. There are so many different factors to this, and you may be trying all that you can to make it to the next day. You may be trying all that you know how to fight against your daily battles. You may be trying everything and you see it feels like all is failing. I want you to hold on, and I want you to keep hope, because God is there for you. There's just something behind the scenes that's fighting against you that you can't see. But if you seek God, he will reveal it to you. That's all I have to say for now. So I hope that you all be blessed.